automatic, so this just moves it forward, moves it back, moves it right, moves it left, and then this little switch on the side controls the brush. Alright, today's going to be a long video, so let's buckle in and let's get started. Okay, so I like the way that the brushes worked, and I got everything pulled off of it because I got to do some modifications to the frame. When I was designing the waste bin that goes in the back, it was just a little bit too big for my 3D printer, and I wanted to scale it down a little bit, and I think it'll just kind of help the robot look a little bit more compact and not have such a giant booty. But I got to take all the parts back off of this. You've seen me do it 1,000 times in the other videos, so I'm just going to jump through that, get everything taken off of here, go ahead and cut this to the right size, get this placed exactly where it needs to be according to the CAD model. Just got done cutting the aluminum extrusion for the chassis, trimming it down. I cut, probably like 5 or 6 inches off the back. And here is a test print now. It had a power surge, which made that line here, and then I had a power failure at this time. And thank you, SRP. I get to now start over a 9-hour print. But that's okay, because we can use this for testing, and I can stop the new print before I get too far. Okay, so I normally design my parts so that they're a little bit larger so that I can come back through and kind of fine-tune things as I go. So I started building both of the assemblies, got a little ahead of myself, and then forgot to use this little test piece that I had to see where everything was going to line up. And this is actually supposed to sit on the back side, and you can see this little ridge right here is supposed to sit in there. But the problem is when that ridge sits in there, there's an interference right here with this ridge. So I actually need to bring this part up a little bit, which is actually closer to, I cut this a little longer than the model, the CAD model, just because I didn't really measure where this brush was going to line up. I think everything's actually pretty close to the model as it is now. So when I put this thing on here, I realized that I could bring this cut back about a 1/4 inch, and that would put it right in line with the brushes where it needs to sit. So now I got to take everything back off of this, back off of that, cut the pieces, and then I guess I'll just restart the time lapse. modify these little flaps that mount underneath the brushes right here and kind of help debris get sucked in and then pulled up. The problem that I was having is I made this flap so big without like any cuts or anything in here, because what was happening was as soon as the part or whatever was getting picked up, this would get knocked into the brush, and then the brush would then keep this from folding back down. And I might have to write a code or something that will reverse the brush if it senses too much drag or something like that. It's making it complicated, trying to keep it simple. But so I'll cut all these in half, and then if that helps, maybe I'll try and cut them in half again and see if it gets better or worse. And then I'm going to mount these all back up. So I'm building the waste bin for my robot to catch everything, and I got these parts printed out, and there's two key differences between this part and this part, and you can see the surface quality on how much better this side is versus that side. You can see there's a lot of issues going on there, and the bottom looks pretty rough too. So the difference is when this one was printing first, this whole piece was unsupported. So when that printer nozzle was going back and forth, this was just wiggling. And I put some tape to kind of try and stiffen this up, and it helped. As like you can tell, this is like about where I put the tape on, so it repositioned itself, and then it got more straight. On this piece, however, I took note of that, and I added this primitive piece, and I just did this 2 layers thick, so it's 0.4 times 2, so that's 0.8 millimeters thick. And then I just did a random width just that I thought was big enough, and just merged it to this part. And what that did was is it added a stiffness to that, and man, it just came out so much better. So I'll have to trim this off, which isn't a big deal because this is on the inside, and then I just got to trim this little piece off. But hey, those having that is a lot better than having to deal with this, because I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I don't want to have to reprint this entire part. I thought about, trimming this and just printing a new piece and putting it in, but this is technically structural. So if I do that, then I kind of lose that structural quality of it. So maybe I'll move a screw hole or something. I don't know. I'm gonna start to put this together. This will be a little window right here with a handle, so you can pick this up. So this kind of has to be a little bit tough, but I mean the window will technically spread its load out onto the whole piece. But once I get that piece trimmed up, man, these are gonna fit together really nice. And then that window is gonna tie everything together. And I think I'm going to use silicone to tie everything together. All right, just got done trimming the support material off the bottom, and then also trimming this flashing a little bit so that I can do a mock-up. And now I can fit it to the robot and see how it looks. Oh, look at that. That thing's gonna look sweet. Yeah, and then there'll be another piece that goes right in here. I didn't want this piece to be too large, so I figured I could just chop the front of this off, and then I could adjust this in the program to bring this in and out to fine tune where this is gonna live. But I mean, that'll work out perfect because the stuff will go right out there and right into that bin there. And then the handle will be right here to where you can lift this off. And then on this piece that's going across, this will have like a latch on it. So you grab the handle here and you press the latch, and it'll allow you to take the bin off, and then this will just be locked in place. I mean, it's pretty heavy, and then I bought some of this rubber material here that goes inside of this track, and that'll give this some support back and forth. But man, that turned out so sweet. And then now I can build the front of it, and yeah, that thing will look sweet. And it's all shortened up too. Look at that thing. Oh, I got some work ahead of me. I think that'll work. I just sanded it down a little bit, and I'll just glue the crap out of that. And the window's really going to be where all the strength is. But now I can get the window drawn up and laser cut, and then get this all glued up. Joining the two halves together, I'm going to use this gasket maker ultra blue. I think this stuff's pretty tough and should hold this together. Could go horribly wrong. This stuff could not work with that plastic. Don't know. But then the window, I'm going to use this stuff. I don't have too much of this left, but I'll do like the little piece up here and then around the window here. The old cameraman keeps forgetting to press record, and that was a fiasco trying to get that glued up, but it's together and drying. So while that's drying, I'm going to start working on applying the silicone to the window and then putting that in its place, and then we'll let it cure. Want to test it, and I also need to adjust one of these bars. Yep. That's pretty good where it's sitting. Probably come back a little bit. So that sits in there like that, and yeah, just the weight of that. That's a little tipsy-turvy. Could just be that that's thick there. That's not a big deal. That is weird. Oh, there's a big glob right here. That'll do it. Okay. That's better. I don't like the side-to-side movement, but I can just 3D print something down here along the side to keep that from, like if something's right here, it'll just keep it from shifting back and forth. So that's not that big of a deal. But yeah, that thing is starting to look like a like a robot. But now that this is a lot stronger, I mean, I thought that would be like weak, but man, that made it a really strong part. That's like a dustbin. It's exactly what I wanted. All right, so I'm gonna start trimming this stuff out and take this little nub off, and then I'll let this dry overnight. And yeah, you can see it. I got that blue stuff everywhere. I'm gonna try and just scrape it off as much as possible when it dries. It's like the best thing. When you rub it around, you just stain it. I just stained the whole bottom of this. I might have to like just get this coat of paint or something. Yeah, see, if I would have done tape along the entire thing, it would have been so much better, so much cleaner. Look how clean that is. Oh my gosh. Lessons you learn, I guess. I want to peel that plastic. Nice. That. Yeah, blue is a bad choice. Should have just done the clear. I would have done the clear everywhere. It wouldn't have mattered. Okay. Got some parts printed out. They turned out okay. They left a lot to be desired. I might try and change this or just orient this differently at how it prints, maybe to get this to look better, but not too concerned about it. It's just an aesthetic piece. But I also had to do some damage control on the bin. I went ahead and put some countersunk fasteners in there, and if you're ever having to put screws into 3D printed plastic, what can happen is when you're putting that screw in and turning that screw in, it'll actually wedge the plastic apart. So what I did was I heat the screw up a little bit, like with a torch, and then the screw is hot when it's going into the plastic, and it kind of melts its way into position. And then, I mean, it locks it together, and I didn't crack any of this plastic all the way along there. So that's something to keep in mind. But I mean, man, this thing is solid. Fits in there nice. And then these pieces will go all along that. I messed up and didn't account for this bracket here, but I have an internal bracket on this side, so I just need to switch this one out so that this plate can go there, and then these will sit here, and then the other one will sit here like that. And yeah, I got the width correct. The other pieces that go to the front, like the front nose part of it, those will intersect into these little cutouts here and go to the front. Look at that. That's pretty cool. I like that. So I got all the rubber in, and I printed these little keepers so that when you put the bin on, now it locks it in place and it can't go side to side. So next up is reinstalling the electronics, and can't test it out at least until tomorrow. That's some big old fat rain. Look at the big old fat rain, Tuck. Man, what a crazy week. It was rain all weekend, followed by hail up north. But finally got around to doing some testing, so let's get into it. Well, I'm pretty happy the way it turned out. For how rough of terrain it is back here, it's doing pretty good. You know, it missed a couple of pieces, but there was some low spots in the dirt, and I can't really blame the machine. It's kind of the terrain that it was under. So I hope you guys liked the video. In the next video, I'm going to be creating the front cowling and the camera stuff. Please like and subscribe and follow along for more. See ya!